Ivy and Kevin, today we are going to explore the following two questions. What is objective reality? What is the scientific method?
I am not very good in science. The two questions looks very challenging to me.
Ivy, you do not have to worry. You may have been confused by the details of the scientific facts that were taught to you in your school. At Peckinock Academy, our focus is on giving you a framework to help you do your own learning.
Matthew, I understand now why Amy introduced us to the Peckinock framework.
Yes, Kevin, we still have a few more basic lessons to cover before you can do your own learning with it. Joanna has shown you that the physical world is like a stage where we play the game of life.
Yes. We have about 80 to 100 years to complete our hero's journey and fulfill our personal legend.
You have to understand how the physical world stage works to be able to play well in the game. Science is the study and knowledge about how the physical world works. That is why you need to learn what is the scientific method, since it is the method that you will use to discover the wonders of the physical world.
Matthew, I found the following definition of science from the UK Science Council website. Science is the pursuit and application of knowledge, and understanding of the natural and social world, following a systematic methodology, based on evidence.
Thank you, Kevin. Our physical world is made up of both the social world of people and the natural world.
I see now. We will use the scientific method to discover for ourselves how things work in the physical world.
Yes, Ivy. You need to learn the method so that you can use it later to do your discovery study projects. Kevin, can you please elaborate on the definition?
Yes, the scientific method includes the following. Objective observation. This involves measurement and collection of data, based on evidence, conducting experiments to test hypotheses, drawing conclusions from facts and examples. The results can be repeated. The results are subjected to critical analysis. The results are published and subjected to peer review and assessment.
Ivy and Kevin, please view some YouTube videos on the scientific method and share with us your findings. Ivy, what did you learn about the scientific method?
I found from the Sprout video that there are 6 steps in the scientific method, as summarized in the figure below.
What are the 6 steps and why is the method useful?
The method is useful because it is a systematic way for us to discover and learn things about our environment, if we are curious and observant. The 6 steps are: observe and ask questions about issues of interest to us. Do research to understand the issues. Formulate a hypothesis to explain the issue. Test the hypothesis by doing experiments. Do analysis and draw conclusions from the data. Prepare a report and share the results.
Ivy, can you please elaborate?
Yes. Step 1. Observe and ask questions. Observation helps us formulate challenging questions that we will be able to test. A good question converts our natural sense of wonder into a focused line of investigation.
Very good. You have to be curious about something before you will start to observe it.
Step 2. Do research to understand an issue. Find out what other people have found out about the issue. Use the keywords in the question to do a Google search for YouTube videos that will give us some introduction. After that, do a more detailed search with words like study, research or meta-analysis.
Yes, you can get a quick introduction to any topic you are interested in by watching YouTube videos.
Step 3. Formulate a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an idea that we think may explain the results of our observation. It must be explained in a way that can be tested.
From your research you will find the explanations for most of your questions. They will form the initial hypothesis for your testing.
Step 4. Test the hypothesis. To test our hypothesis, we have to design a method or experiment to collect data for analysis.
You can find the methods and experiments that you can do to collect your data, to test your hypothesis by doing a Google search.
Step 5. Do analysis and draw conclusions. Once we have collected enough data, we have to analyze the data and decide whether the data supports the hypothesis or not.
You will find that you will learn a lot by doing the experiments and analyzing the data you collected.
Step 6. Prepare a report and share the results. The final step is to write a report describing the experiment and method we used to collect the data to test the hypothesis, and the conclusion from the data analysis. We share the report so that others can repeat what we have done to test the hypothesis themselves.
Ivy, are there anything else you wish to share?
Yes. The video also explains the following. Any scientific theory is falsifiable. Correlation is not causation. Avoid selective windowing.
Ivy, can you please clarify?
Yes. For a theory to be scientific, it must be falsifiable. That is, it can be proven to be false if we can find evidence that it is false. Otherwise, it is not scientific. We cannot conclude that there is a causation link between two factors just because they are correlated. We must avoid and be aware of biased reporting, by selective windowing of results to support biased conclusions.
Very good. Thank you, Ivy. Kevin, what did you find out about the scientific method?
I found from the teacher's pet video a simple definition of the method and what are the parts of an experiment. The method is defined as a process, or steps taken, to produce reliable results to answer a specific question. We do observation with all our 5 senses: smell, sight, taste, touch, and hearing.
Kevin, can you give an example of the application of the method to an ordinary problem?
Yes. We take the case of the simple problem of an observation or awareness of a missing cell phone. The 6 steps can be listed as follows. Observation: I am aware of my missing phone. Research: I think about when I last had it. Hypothesis: I suspect it was left in the car. Experiment: I checked for it in the car. It was not there. I tried a second hypothesis: it could be in my backpack. I checked and it was there. Conclusion: the second hypothesis was correct. Share results: I shared the above event with my friend, Ivy.
Very good. What else did you find out from the video?
In our research, we should always refer to reliable sources, and not from blog articles. A hypothesis is usually framed as an if and then statement, and has to be specific. The if specifies the experimental conditions, and the then specifies the predicted results.
Kevin, can you please explain the parts of an experiment?
Yes. An experiment can have both qualitative and quantitative data. Qualitative data are descriptive, whereas quantitative data are numbers. An experiment will have independent and dependent variables. Independent variables are the thing we change. Independent variables are the things we measure.
Very interesting. What else?
An experiment is normally done to find what happens when we alter a variable. Thus, we need to have a separate group to compare the results from the experimental group. The normal group, with the standard unaltered conditions used for the comparison, is called the control group.
Very good. Both of you now are aware of what is the scientific method. However, you can only know the method if you can apply it to discover answers to your questions.
Matthew, can you please clarify what you mean by aware and know?
Yes. If I want to test your awareness of what is the scientific method, you will be able to Google and recite to me what you and Kevin just shared with us about the method. To really know something, you must be able to integrate the new knowledge that you are aware of into your mental framework, and apply it in a creative way to solve problems. Neil deGrasse Tyson gives a very good example of the difference between knowing a method as a process versus knowing a method as a memory. Ivy, please Google the after-school video on knowledge versus thinking, and share with us what you found.
Yes. In the video, Dr. Tyson asked two candidates in a job interview, what is the height of the spire of a building? Candidate number 1 gave a memorized answer. The second candidate used her knowledge of similar triangles in trigonometry to get an estimated height of the spire from the shadows cast by the sun on the spire, and on her own shadow. She knows how to think and apply her trigonometry knowledge in new situations to solve a problem. Whereas, the first candidate only demonstrated his memory skills. This is not that useful now, since Google is a much more efficient memory bank.
Ivy, do you understand now why knowledge acquisition is a process, and not a memorization task?
Yes. We can only know something well after we can apply it in new situations.
That is why at Pekanakri Academy, we focus on project-based learning, since a project will require a student to think and apply their newly acquired knowledge. We want our students to be in control of what they think, and not be a node in a computer-controlled network. Ivy and Kevin, please find out what is objective reality, and share with us your findings. Ivy, what did you find out?
I found from a video by Tom Campbell, the difference between objective and subjective reality. Tom says that we live in two realities, the objective and subjective reality. The objective reality is the realm of the external real world, and it is the realm that science deals with. The objective reality is not influenced by our personal feelings or opinions, when we consider and represent facts.
Very good. What is subjective reality?
Subjective reality is the realm of the inner world of our mind and consciousness. It is related to our inner person, and thus is subject to the personal interpretation of each person. Since each person's view of an external world event can vary, an external real world event can have different subjective interpretation by different person.
We shall study what is consciousness and subjective reality in another session later.
Tom says that understanding consciousness allows for science to be done in the subjective realm.
Thank you, Ivy. Kevin, what did you find out about objective reality?
I learned from the On the Mind video how our subconscious mind influences our interpretation of the objective reality of an external world event. An objective experience is not influenced by personal feelings or opinions. It exists independently, outside of our perception of it. It is just information we gathered via our five senses. A subjective experience is an internal experience of an external reality, and is affected by feelings and opinions related to past experiences.
Thank you, Kevin. Please elaborate.
Yes. The video gives an example of an external real world, objective event, such as it is raining. However, the event is interpreted subjectively by two different people, due to their memory of their past experience with the event. One of them sees an opportunity deprived, he can't play golf, whereas the other sees an opportunity to gather data for her research on rain.
Ivy and Kevin, excellent work. I would like to conclude today's session with the following summary. The scientific method is a 6-step method to help us discover things about the external real world, through the process of making hypothesis and experimentation. Science deals with the objective reality of the external real world. Knowledge acquisition is a process, and requires the learner to apply what they know about something. The interpretation of an objective external real world event by a person, is the subjective reality experienced by a person. Thus, a person lives in two realities, an objective reality that they experienced with their body in the external world, and a subjective reality experienced by their inner person, based on how the external event triggers the person's subconscious memory of the event in the past.